Well, if nothing else, we're finally at the halfway mark. Hey, you going? Welcome to my Picard Season 1, Episode 5, Stardust City Rag review. So this episode starts 13 years ago, and some dude is getting his eyeball pulled out. Nice. And apparently he's a Borg. So then 7 of 9 busts in and saves him. But it's too late, and she has to kill him. Okay. I have no idea who this person is, so I have trouble caring, really. And then we move to like 2 weeks ago, and we're on Freecloud. Finally. And there's this woman called Vajazzle, and she has some sort of a reptilian henchman. And he tells her that Bruce Maddox is on Freecloud. Convenient. So Vajazzle tells this bouncer guy to kill Bruce Maddox, and then she says, wait, no. I'll speak to him. So Bruce Maddox tells Vajazzle that the Tel Shiar have destroyed his lab, like down to the molecule. They must have some sort of a ray or a gel or something that destroys everything. And then Vajazzle tells him to calm down and have some wine, which he does, and it's poisoned. Who'd have guessed it? Me. And she's captured him for the Tel Shiar for some reason. Money, probably. Now, was it just me, or did everyone else think that that was Marina Sirtis? Or Counselor Troy from Next Generation? God, it reminded me of her so much. So then we're back on the La Serena. I don't know, I'm not good with Spanish names. And Picard's in his holodeck, and he's looking at some ads for Freecloud, and they say something about, we'll keep your secrets, or something like that. But later on, it shows that they're not very good at that. More about that later. So 7 of 9 comes into Picard's holo suite, and she looks around, she's like, ugh. And he's like, yeah, this is not my idea. So that gets me wondering, like, who's in charge of this mission? Isn't that Picard's mission? He can tell people what to do, can't he? So then Picard chews 7 of 9 out for being a vigilante. But then she tries to explain herself, and she basically describes his entire mission. She basically says that she has to do something because no one else will. So luckily, coincidentally, the Fenris Rangers, who 7 of 9 is a part of, keep their cash on Freecloud, so she can be dropped off there. That's good. And then Raffi and Rios are talking about 7 of 9, and Rios keeps going on about 7, the ex-Borg Fenris Ranger from the Delta Quadrant. 7, the ex-Borg Fenris Ranger from the Delta Quadrant. I'm like, what the hell is it? Is he trying to implant that in my brain or something so that I realize later on that she's a Borg and a Fenris Ranger and she's from the Delta Quadrant? Is it a plot point or something? And then we see Girardi in her quarters watching some videos, and it shows that she was in a sexual relationship with Bruce Maddox. So as they approach Freecloud, they get these pop-ups appear in front of them, these holographic 3D pop-ups. Rios gets a ship repair one, and Picard gets a high tea at the hotel one, and Girardi gets some help wanted ad for a robot boxing league, and then Raffi gets like a weed salesman. Like, they say that they can keep your secrets, but then they show like what you're after in front of everyone. So Elnor doesn't get a hologram at all. So is that saying that he's above all this and he doesn't have any desires? Because it seems to be showing everyone else their desires. But I don't really think that he has no desires, because he seemed to desire Picard's attention when he was back on his home planet. So apparently on this planet, if you want to meet with someone, you don't just go and ask them for a meeting. You have to set up a meeting with an intermediary. And then they go set up the meeting with someone else, and then they come and meet with you, but with the other person there, and they meet with you there, them meeting them, and you have the meeting with them and the other people in the meeting. Whatever. So apparently this Vajazzle chick put an ad up saying that she wanted a meeting with the Tel Shiar. So Raffi's hooked into the system and set them up as intermediaries so that Rios can go down and act as this intermediary. For such a dodgy bunch of people, they seem pretty open with their information. So it turns out that 7 of 9 knows Vajazzle. And they're like, oh, you know him? How? And she's like, not him, it's a her. That's a running theme with these episodes. There's always someone that they're like, who is he? And they're like, it's not a he, it's a her. We get it. And then Raffi makes a big deal about reading her staff listing to say that she has a Beta Anari, who's apparently the lizard-like guy, and they can apparently smell if you're lying or not. And Rios calls him a sentient reptiloid. And I'm pretty sure all reptiles are sentient. So are they confusing sentient with anthropomorphic, as in having human-like features? So basically they mean a person with stuff stuck to their face. So it turns out that Vagisil butchers Borg for profit. And then they say that maybe if they offer her something that she really, really wants, she'll hand over Maddox in return. And they're like, what? What can we hand over? What do we got here that she wants? This woman who loves butchering Borg, who can we give her? Or what can we give her? And it's like, 7 of 9's like, well, what about me? So apparently because 7 of 9 was assimilated as a child, that means that she has like more highly integrated Borg components. And apparently these intermediaries like to dress flamboyantly because that way they won't get shot if there's a shootout. Like the people who are shooting won't confuse them for the enemy. But I mean, pimping ain't easy. So Rios beams down there and sets up a meeting, and this lizard guy makes a reference to Quark and the Breen. It feels like Star Trek is getting so small world, like Star Trek. Every planet they go on, there's someone there that you've seen before. So they keep flashing backwards and forwards. So it's like, here's a problem, and then let's go back into the past and we'll show you the solution that we'd already put into place for it. So it turns out that they injected Rios with some beta blockers and some benzos, which is part of Raffi's the stickiest of the icky. And they say, like, just in case you meet this Beta Anari, these drugs should kick in just as you need it. So these drugs kick in just as he's got a gun to his face. How convenient. And Picard's dressed as some old-time French film director or something with a beret and an eye patch. Actually, it looks like he's cosplaying as Sagat from Street Fighter 2. Sagat Sagat. So they give 7 of 9 a pattern enhancer, which apparently means they can beam through a shield. And because she's got robot bits in her, they won't be able to tell if they're her or if they're this beam enhancer. And then they chuck a sack over her head because she's their prisoner, but it looks strikingly similar to the sack they put over Daja's head in episode 1. By Grabthar's hammer, what a savings for the prop department. I mean, there's got to be at least $9.95 worth of props department savings there. And then it kind of confuses me because they're doing this deal in plain sight. Like, they don't even go to a private room of this nightclub. And then we flash back again, and Raffi's telling Picard that she's going to leave. She's had enough, and she's going to be dropped off on Freecloud, never to return. And I'm like, you'll be back. Before the end of the episode, you'll be back. And she's after some guy called Gabriel Huang. No idea who that is. Don't care, really. So Raffi meets this Gabriel dude at this fertility clinic. And I'm like, is this her husband or her brother or her son? And it's her son. Okay. Didn't even know she had kids. Whatever. And this scene has some of the worst acting ever. Real cringe-inducing stuff. And her son's like annoyed at her because she left to go help the Romulans when he needed her. But now he's like knocked up a Romulan, so like shouldn't he be thankful because he loves Romulans too? And then Vajazzle says, "Oh, it's good to see you again, Annika." And I think that's 7 of 9's pre-assimilation name. So I'm wondering, did she know her pre-assimilation or did she know her post-liberation? Is she related to her? Like, is she a sister or something? Don't know. So while they're on the planet, Girardi's in the ship and it's her job to beam them back up, and she's stressing. So the EMH appears and tries to give her a sedative, but she's like, no, get away, shoot. So that seems a bit weird. Why does she not want help from the EMH? Does she not trust the EMHs? So it turns out that this Vagisil woman was going to chop up 7 of 9 for parts because she was worth a fortune, and 7 of 9 got away, and that's why this woman's ticked off at her. She's been chasing her for ages trying to get her back. And it looks like they've beat Maddox up. And I don't know why. Like, if he's your product, shouldn't you be looking after it? So then 7 of 9 grabs this Vagisil woman by the throat and they have a bit of a Mexican standoff. And 7 of 9 throws the pattern enhancer down on the table and says, like, you should go. And she says some stuff that makes me think that, like, after the Mars attack, the Federation just shut down. Did they go back into their shell or something? But old mate Crocodile Man has some sort of a secret gun up his sleeve, but unfortunately for him, it takes like 5 seconds to deploy and has bright red lights on it. Genius. So Crocodile Man gets shot by Rios, who's standing behind him, so probably couldn't have seen the gun. He just shot him for the hell of it. So I wonder if Picard's going to chew him out like he did to Elnor. So then Rios says something to 7 of 9 about how if she kills Vagisil, that they'll have a price on their head for the rest of their days, and Picard and Elnor won't be able to survive it. But I'm wondering, like, if you've roughed up this mob boss, like, wouldn't you already have a price on your head anyway? Like, if you let her go, she's just going to send people out after you anyway. Or are these some sort of honorable murderers? So they beam back on the ship, and Rios does this weird thing where he, like, kisses the pattern enhancer and places it onto the transporter console. It's just weird. It's like they're saying, hey, everyone, it's the pattern enhancer, and it's going onto the transporter console. Look at it. And it makes a little when he puts it down. Foreshadowing. And then 7 of 9 picks it up immediately. So she now has it. So 7 of 9 says to Picard, look, there's a ship here waiting for me. Give me some guns and I'll be out of here. And she gives Picard some sort of a clear chip thing, which I'm assuming is like a business card that you can hit and she can come and find you again. Very convenient. And they make some big deal about 7 of 9 asking Picard if he got his humanity back. And he says yes. And she says all of it. And he's like, no. So 7 of 9 beams back. And of course, she's going after Vagisil. And she shoots her guards and has a bit of a standoff with her. And she's like, you're stalling. And it's like, no way. Why don't you just let her monologue for a few more minutes? And then she shoots Vagisil and she vaporizes. I guess because she shot her with 2 guns, maybe. And then 7 of 9 walks out with guns out like this, walking into fire, and she doesn't get hit once. So is she fighting as stormtroopers or something? And then Maddox tells Picard that Soji's on the Borg cube, and it's like, well, we already knew that. I could have told him that. And then he makes some statement about how there's lies upon lies when it comes to the synthetics ban. And he says that he sent Daj and Soji to investigate whether the Federation was involved in the attack on Mars. But he says he was only going to activate them if they got into trouble. Why? Do they make better infiltrators if they're not aware that they're robots? What if they go off on their own? What if they decide, no, I'm not going to go to the Borg cube, I'm going to go somewhere else? And can we please not mix languages? Like, I have no idea what jefe means when Rios said it to Picard. But from the context, I guess it means old man. But then Picard says something about like, I'm not just an old man. So I'm like, does it mean old man or does it mean silly old man? So then Picard saying, I'm not an old man means that he's saying that he's silly still. I don't know. Stop doing this mixed languages thing. We're not all from California or Texas or wherever there's a predominance of Spanish speakers in America. And then Rios says to Picard, are we going to talk about the stowaway? And guess who it is? It's Raffi. Oh my god, who would have thunk it? They couldn't even be bothered to have her explain why she's coming back. So then Girardi basically turns off the life support to Maddox and kills him. And the EMH appears, and I'm like, does the EMH appear if you're stressed out, but not if someone's dying? So Girardi sends the EMH away, and I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't there be a log of who turned the EMH off? Like, wouldn't you look that up if you found out that Maddox was dead? What happened to the EMH? Oh, it was turned off. By who? By Girardi. Why'd you turn it off? I don't know. So Girardi had said something to Maddox about, I wish they hadn't shown me. I wish I didn't know. And then I remember seeing an image of Girardi on the same cliff top outside of the Daystrom Institute where Commander O interrogated her, and she had a hand over her face like this. And it gets me thinking that maybe she had a Vulcan mind meld. Is that even a thing? Is that possible? The end. So I'm giving this episode a 5 out of 10. It was really pretty average. It had a pretty lame story, lame sets, lame costumes. The stereotypical characterizations were just off the charts. That French accent of Picard's and that pimp outfit. It's like they just had the costumes lying around and had to work them into the story somehow. I mean, I get that they justified it by saying that they need to stand out in case there's a shootout so they won't be shot mistakenly, but come on. And the coincidences, oh my god. So 7 of 9 was used as bait because she had Borg parts. And then it turns out that she has a history with Vajazzle. And then it turns out that she's a Fenris Ranger who helps Picard's ship when it gets attacked by the pirate bird of prey. And then her ship had to be destroyed, and then she had to be beamed aboard in time. And this all happened just before they got to Freecloud. Not on the way back from it. And they were only at that planet because Picard decided he wanted to check in on some space ninja. And then Raffi's son being on Freecloud as well as Maddox. Ugh. So in the end it turned out that there were 3 separate people that they were looking for who were on this one planet. What are the odds? And by that I mean there's Raffi's son, there's Vajazzle that 7 of 9 was after, and there's Maddox, who everyone was after. And can they please stop with this whole identifying someone they've never met as he, and then someone correcting them by saying, no, it's a she. And the cheap sets are getting to me, like Picard's Holo Suite is just reusing the Chateau set. The nightclub on this Freecloud planet looked like some sort of a warehouse that they just darkened and then strategically lit. And what's the use of this Elnor character? They went to all the trouble of recruiting him and he's done nothing this episode. I'm assuming that when they fight the Borg, which they will, I'm assuming that they're going to be like, oh, the phasers, they do nothing. And then his sword is just going to slice through them. That's the only value I can see in having him aboard. So anyway, that's it for this week's episode of Star Trek Picard. I hope you enjoyed it more than I did. Surely by now you know whether you want to like or comment or subscribe. Later.